Run those numbers, and you'll find that Jordan and Maya, who together earn $300,000, have somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $4,000 a month left over for everything else: travel, savings beyond retirement, the dinners, the dog, life. That's not a lavish cushion.
Who the f am I to tell you what to do with your money?
My name is Priya Milani, currently managing millions of hardworking dollars. Enough foreplay. Let's talk
Money.
Welcome to the F word. Smart money.
No bull.
Hey guys, welcome to the F word. There are too many relationships suffering from financial anxiety that's completely unnecessary. Now, I'm not here to brush off that the world, quite frankly, is a dumpster fire at the moment, but that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about what you can control and making sure that you truly are. I want to start by saying that if you're in your early 30s, earning well, living in a city you love, building a life that actually looks like the one you imagined, that's awesome. It's exactly why you're working and what you've been working towards. The nice apartment, the dinners out, the vacations that your 24-year-old self would have put on a vision board. This episode is not about telling you to stop any of it. But here's what I do want to talk about, because I think it's a conversation that high-earning couples are desperate to have, but rarely do. Two good incomes, a lifestyle that's well-earned, and still, at some point, usually late on a Sunday night, one or both of you suffers from a low-grade anxiety that feels hard to address. Neither of you is doing anything overtly wrong. There's just a nagging feeling that for everything coming in, you're not really getting ahead. If that's familiar, you're not alone. And you're not irresponsible. You're just navigating new territory. And I'm here to help. Let's get into it. So I want to tell you about Jordan and Maya. Jordan is 32. Maya is 34. They've been together 6 years, living together for 3. Between them, they're pulling in just under $300,000 a year. Jordan works in tech, and Maya's in healthcare administration. They're both good at their jobs, both ambitious, both the kind of people that their friends describe as having it together. And by most measures, they do. They live in a good neighborhood with space for friends to visit. They have a dog. They have date nights where money is never the limiting factor. They travel. Work keeps them busy, but they took 2 trips last year, one of which was international. On the financial front, they both maxed their employer 401k match because they know enough to know you never leave free money on the table. Again, by most external measures, they're doing everything right. And yet, every few months, one of them, usually Maya, although Jordan has his moments too, opens their joint checking account, does the mental math, and comes up with a number that doesn't quite seem right. They earn almost $300,000 a year, and they're not reckless. So why does their savings number feel like it should be higher? They don't fight about money, but they also don't talk about it. In fact, they kind of avoid it. If you're thinking, what's the big deal? I've never had a real money conversation with my partner. Not the kind where you actually say what you want, what you're afraid of, what you think the plan is. That's what I'm talking about. Most of us just operate on assumption and good faith. And mostly, it works. This story highlights a couple who is exactly where so many couples are. Comfortable enough that urgency isn't there, but unsettled enough that question marks don't go away. Before we go deeper into Jordan and Maya's story, I want to take a minute on the math, because I think when you really look at it, it will change how you feel. $300,000 sounds like a lot, and it is. But let's just walk through what $300,000 actually looks like by the time it hits your life as a couple living in a big city. Starting with federal taxes, they take a significant bite at that income level. You're probably in the 32% bracket on a meaningful portion of that. Add state income tax on that. If you're in California, New York, New Jersey, you're talking another 8 to 13%. By the time taxes alone are done, that $300,000 is realistically somewhere in the neighborhood of $195,000 to $210,000 take home. Already, that number feels wildly different. Now, rent or mortgage in a city where 2 professionals want to live, $4,000 to $5,500 a month is not extravagant in most major metros. That's up to $66,000 a year. Student loans, because almost everyone at this income level has them, you're talking another $800 to $1,500 a month for two people. Retirement contributions, because they're doing the right thing. Transportation, groceries, utilities, insurance. The subscriptions that increase when you're not even looking. You're adding another $2,500 to $3,500 a month easily. Run those numbers and you'll find that Jordan and Maya, who together earn $300,000, have somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $4,000 a month left over for everything else. Travel, savings beyond retirement, the dinners, the dog, life. That's not a lavish cushion. And now that you see it, the low-grade anxiety makes complete sense. It's not irrational, it's accurate. You are closer to the edge than the headline number suggests. And most people at this income level are genuinely surprised when they see it laid out this way. Now, here's where I want to shift gears a little because the math may explain why it's hard. What I really want to talk about why it's harder than it needs to be. I use this analogy with couples all the time, and I want to share it with you. Imagine you and your partner are standing at the edge of a lake. Across that lake is a beautiful island. And that island is the life you're both trying to build together. The financial security, the house, the freedom, whatever that looks like for you. You both want to get there. Now, imagine there are two rowboats at the shore. You could each get in your own boat and row across separately, or you could get in one boat together and row to the island as a team. Most couples, without realizing it, are in two separate rowboats. Maybe it started because one of you had more debt when you got together and it felt fair to keep things separate. Maybe it was about independence. Keeping your finances your own felt safer, less exposed. Maybe you just never had the conversation about what to merge, so you defaulted to separate and stayed there years later. But here's what separate boats actually costs you. You're rowing twice as hard to get to the same island. You're duplicating effort, duplicating decisions, and missing the compounding advantage that comes from two people truly moving in the same direction together. Now, I hear the hesitation because the pushback I almost always hear is, what if one of us is a stronger rower? What if one person is in a more financially solid place and the other one isn't? What if getting in the same boat means the stronger rower carries the weight? And here's what I say back, somewhat in jest. What if the other person brings snacks? But seriously, what if your partner isn't the stronger financial rower, but they're the one who thinks about the future, who keeps the emotional steadiness when the waters get choppy, who remembers that the point of crossing the lake isn't just to get there fast, but to enjoy the trip? What if what they bring to the boat is exactly what you need and couldn't see because you were too busy measuring rowing strength? The couples who build real wealth together are almost never two equally strong rowers in the same way. They're two people who figured out what each contribute and got in the same boat.
Real quick, if you've ever seen your paycheck hit your checking account and thought, where the hell does it all go? You're not alone. If you're in your 30s making six figures, it's time to get your financial shit together. Go to stashwealth.com and book a call. All right, back to the episode.
Now that we're talking about who belongs in your boat, I want to make a point that I've made before on this show. And if you caught episode 53, Are You Guilt Tripping Yourself into Dating Beneath You? Some of this will sound familiar. But I want to revisit it here because in the context of this conversation, it lands differently. That episode was really about giving yourself permission to want a partner who matches your ambition, your earning power, and not feeling shallow for wanting that. And I stand by every word of it. If you've worked hard to build something, it's not unreasonable to want someone in your corner who is doing the same. And I stand by every word of it. If you've worked hard to build something, it is not unreasonable to want someone in your corner who's doing the same. But here's the thing I want to add to that conversation today because I think not doing so leaves a major gap. Earning a lot and having your financial life together are not the same thing. And in my experience, confusing the two is one of the most costly mistakes people make when they're deciding who to build a life with. Someone can make a modest salary and be completely clear on their goals, intentional about where their money goes, free of high interest debt, and genuinely pointed in a solid direction. That person's a strong rower regardless. Their income right now is not a verdict of their financial character. It's just their current data point. On the flip side, someone can pull in a significant income and have no real awareness about where that money goes or how to leverage it wisely. A lifestyle that expanded in perfect lockstep with every raise. No saving strategy, no plan, just a very expensive version of living paycheck to paycheck. That person might look incredibly strong from the shore, but get in the boat with them and you'll see a different story. The point I'm trying to make is that what actually signals a good financial partner isn't the number on their paycheck. It's whether they've actually thought about money honestly, whether they know what they spend and why, whether they have some version of a plan, even an imperfect, evolving one, whether they can sit down and talk about money without shutting down, deflecting, or turning it into a fight. Those qualities exist at every income level, and their absence is a red flag at every income level too. So, as you're thinking about who you want in your rowboat, think carefully about what they're actually bringing to the boat. The salary is just one data point. What you really want to know is whether they've ever looked their finances in the eye. Back to Jordan and Maya, because what I just described, two people with different financial personalities, different financial histories, different definitions of what security even means, that's them. Jordan grew up in a household where money was tight and never discussed. His parents didn't fight about it. They just quietly stressed about it, and he absorbed that stress without anyone ever teaching him what to do with it. So his instinct as an adult is to avoid looking too closely, right? Things are fine. Don't jinx it. Maya grew up comfortable. Her parents talked more openly about money, maybe too openly, but as she came into adulthood, she had very strong opinions about spending and saving. She has a number in her head for where their savings should be. Jordan doesn't know what that number is because they've never talked about it. So when Maya opens the banking account on Sunday night and feels that low-key panic attack coming on, Jordan sees her looking at her phone and knows what she's doing, but says nothing because he doesn't know what to say. They are not in conflict. They're just in parallel boats, wasting time and efficiency. Life will go on for Maya and Jordan. The extra trip will get booked because one person needed it and the other person didn't push back, though they probably should have. The apartment upgrade happens because the lease was up and neither of them wanted to be the person who said, nah, let's stay put. The saving stalls because there's no shared picture of what they're saving toward. So it's easier to spend on the life they're already living. None of these decisions are bad decisions in isolation, but together they're adding up to a lifestyle that neither of them fully chose. They're in two boats on the same lake, rowing in roughly the same direction, hoping they end up on the same island. And they probably will, but it's going to take longer than it should, and it's going to feel a lot harder than it needs to. So, where did Jordan and Maya go from here? I'm glad you asked. Jordan and Maya have the conversation that they've been avoiding. They get in the same boat, not talking about their banking app or what their savings number is, but the real conversation, a better conversation, one where they turn off the TV, sit across from each other, and ask questions that actually help them get to know each other better, that actually matter. What does feeling financially secure look like to you? Not a number, a feeling. What would have to be true for us to feel like we were getting ahead? What are you afraid of financially? Losing a job, a health crisis, never owning property, retiring without enough? Say it to each other. If we redirected everything extra towards one goal for the next 2 years, what would that goal be? Do we even agree on what we're building toward? Some might say these are not comfortable questions, but then again, why isn't it considered romantic to sit down with someone you love and talk about the life you want to build together? What Jordan and Maya found, and what most couples find when they actually have this conversation, is that their values were way more aligned than they assumed. They both wanted to own property. They both wanted the travel to stay. They disagreed on timeline and how much cushion felt like enough, but those were solvable differences, not fundamental incompatibilities. The problem was never that they couldn't agree. The problem was that they'd never asked. Once they had a shared picture built together, not just a bunch of assumptions, the individual spending decisions got so much easier. Not because they started saying no to everything, but because they had a reason to say yes or no that meant something to both of them. That's the shift from two people reacting to their financial life to two people designing it together. Before I let you go, I always end the show with a segment called Best Bite. I'm a big foodie and I love to share something that I've had recently that just blew me away. This one is out of left field because I've had pierogies before, and while I can't argue with a potato dumpling, they're usually nothing to write home about. But when my friend recommended Pirosec in Williamsburg, and my initial research uncovered that it's the only Polish restaurant in America listed in the Michelin Guide, I was interested. I ended up trying two different versions. The original, because I feel similarly about pizza, where you kind of have to just try the plain slice to really know. And the other one was called the Tatarski, which had potatoes, eggs, dill, scallions, and was topped with sizzling bacon, both served with sour cream. While I never seek out a pierogi, I will absolutely be going back. This was a 10 out of 10 Best Bite. To close out, here's what I hope you walk away with today. If you're in a relationship, your incomes are not the obstacle, and your lifestyle is not the enemy. The gap between what you earn and what you're building towards is almost never a math problem at its core. It's two people, two financial histories, one life you're building together, usually without a blueprint. The most powerful financial move a high earning couple can make has nothing to do with an account type or an investment strategy. It's simply getting aligned. It's getting in the same room with no phones, no distractions, and just asking each other what you're actually building towards. What security feels like to you. What you'd regret spending money on 10 years from now. What you'd regret not spending it on. That conversation is the best financial decision you'll ever make together. Get in the same boat. Figure out who rows and who brings the snacks. And start crossing the lake like you mean it. If this episode hit close to home, I hope you'll share it, send it to your partner. And as always, if you have a sec to leave us a review, that is the best way to help other people find the show. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, or follow us wherever you're listening so that you can keep finances front and center and move intentionally towards building a life that you love. All right, thanks for listening. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to The F Word with Priya Malani. If you like what you heard, hit subscribe wherever you're listening and leave us a review while you're at it. We're approval junkies. Don't forget, you can find a ton of great resources, content, courses, and other freebies at stashwealth.com. Now, for the capital S stuff our lawyers want us to say. StashWealth is a registered investment advisor. Content presented is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to make an offer or solicitation for any specific securities, product, service, or strategy. Consult with a qualified investment advisor, that's us, before implementing any strategy. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. There, we said it.
Did I have that up?